9 days until the election, but the very special number here in the state of Florida is 29. That's how many electoral votes are up for grabs, and Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are doing everything they can to get those votes. Now, typically in all the years of inaugurations, there are some lawmakers out of the 535 total that don't make it to the January 20th event, but this time around there just happens to be more people who aren't coming to Friday's inauguration. Congressman Gates has held several of these town halls since he was first sworn into office back in January, but today he held not only a town hall but spent the entire day in Ponce de Leon. He met with civics students and taught a civics class at a high school. He also attended a city council meeting and met with first responders this morning, but he wrapped up the town hall inside of this church about a half hour ago. We spoke with management at this motel, the El Governor Motel, and they said that they've had a couple of cancellations at the last minute today, but they've also had a lot of last minute reservations coming in from people in this area. But like I said, the rain is just starting to come down now, a little heavier than about an hour ago. Governor Pence has a record of creating jobs in the state of Indiana. Much like here in Florida, Governor Rick Scott is always talking about job creation. It's jobs, jobs, jobs. But there are a lot of voters in this state, which is a very important swing state, that are undecided. So what does Governor Pence have to say tonight to maybe swing those voters into the Donald Trump category? So those guidelines just discussed are just that, guidelines. They have not been made into law, but they could affect our local schools' federal aid if they do not comply. Now, I know a lot of people are talking about Florida as a toss-up state. Other people are saying Ohio, North Carolina. What other states, in your opinion, do you think are going to be crucial? I know that you said it was stringent, but under a Hillary Clinton administration, what would the vetting process look like? How would it be different from what it is now? Set the record straight for us. Were you a lobbyist with the FMA? Someone broke into the Bay County Republican headquarters Monday night, and Chairman James Waterstraw tells us someone threw a rock at one of the windows, shattering the glass. Now, you have a chief executive within the DoD talking about a product that is made right here in Panama City. What does that mean to you? Well, today marks 75 years since the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and while many of us know it as the event that launched the U.S. into the Second World War, for one local woman, it marks the death of a young man who left behind a final love letter to her with a foreboding message.
Admitting that this letter got me down, I'll remain forever yours, Creighton. I knew how much he loved me. I know he did.
Those words were the last words 18-year-old Arlene Borges heard from her ex-boyfriend, Creighton Workman. 10 days later, the boy with the Midwestern charm would perish in Pearl Harbor. But it's another part of that letter in which he mentions Japan that 75 years later still sends a chill down her spine. Lone Tree, Iowa, 1937. They'd met after he fixed her bicycle. To her, he was Crady. To him, she was Ian.
We did everything together. We'd drive to Iowa City to see the movies on Sunday.
After graduation, he wanted to marry her, but she wasn't ready, so he joined the Navy instead and was stationed in Pearl Harbor aboard the USS Oklahoma. She moved to Colorado, but they kept in touch by writing.
He was always looking forward to a letter from me.
This letter was the last one she'd ever receive, its contents hauntingly prophetic.
Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, November the 27th, 1941. Dear Arlene, hello, honey, what's new? How's the old world been treating you?
I just got your letter and was so glad to hear from you. Really, Ian, writing letters is so easy. Just let yourself go.
This will be my third Christmas in the Navy, so it won't be anything new, although I will admit I'd much rather be with you.
We're not spending much time at sea now. They aren't taking any chances with our Navy.
They are afraid we will have trouble with Japan. And they did.
The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked.
What went through your mind when you found that out?
Oh, gosh. I felt real bad, of course. It was sad. They knew that they were going to have trouble. It's proof right there.
As the decades wore on, Arlene eventually married and had a family, but she's kept this letter and the memory of its author close to her heart.
Forever yours, Creighton. Forever yours. Okay, Crady.
Well, on the morning of December 7th, 1941, Creighton was working in the boiler room of the USS Oklahoma. He was one of the hundreds of sailors trapped inside of that ship's vessel. His remains were never found. Ironically, the man Arlene went on to marry was working at Pearl Harbor as a civilian on that fateful day.
He said, 1 of 22. Why can't they just help us? He didn't say me, us.
Us. Goodbye.
And then goodbye. I'm going to do everything I can to help them.
Drew Winkler's parents read aloud their son's final message before the 26-year-old Iraq War veteran committed suicide on Memorial Day. It's a message they've turned into a mission. The airman had been suffering from severe PTSD since before 2011, when he was discharged from the military. His mother, Rebecca, says the son who returned from war wasn't the one she sent off.
After coming back, he was just very anxious about everything, uneasy about everything, just always on edge.
Many things would frighten him, she said, like loud noises, driving, crowds, even something as small as dropping a spoon off a table.
There were times after he came back that I looked at my husband and I said, I don't know who this person is. This is not my son. I didn't know who he was. That free-spirited child that I sent off to the military was gone, and there was nothing anybody was doing to help him.
Drew sought help from 2 Veterans Affairs clinics. Their solution, according to his parents, was to keep changing his medications.
So their solution was, well, you can take a Xanax.
Though he had to rely on the VA, he was denied disability benefits twice, once because of a forgotten signature, and the other because his symptoms didn't meet the criteria for a PTSD diagnosis. Rebecca says there were times the VA couldn't accommodate his schedule for future counseling sessions within a 3-week time frame. We reached out to the Veterans Affairs Clinic where Drew was seen. They said due to HIPAA laws, they couldn't provide any details regarding his treatment.
They absolutely failed my son.
And his children.
And his children.
Drew left behind 4-year-old Christian and 19-month-old Caden. Rick and Rebecca say that they wear these necklaces now to remind their grandchildren of their late father.
Who is that?
Daddy.
Drew was an excellent father. He was a better father than I was. I mean, every minute he was off, he was with his kids, and every extra dollar he had went to his kids. I just wished he would have squeezed my hand instead of my gun.
As the Winklers sat in their family room, their son's ashes in hand, they tell me about how they've decided to channel their grief into purpose. They hope spreading Drew's story brings awareness to veteran suicide.
22 people a day kill themselves over PTSD. If I can bring that number down to 21 next year, then the next year I'm going to shoot for 20.